Hello, everybody. Great to see you here. Welcome back to the Royal Talents Creators Studio Live, and thank you for joining us today. This is our third episode for 2024, now streaming live on YouTube. And the great thing about everybody. Whoa, great to see you here. Welcome there's Jeff, Jeff number two somewhere. Hold on. This is our third episode for 2024. Now this is what I love about live video. Whoa, there's Jeff. Jeff, there we go. There were so many Jeffs happening in virtual reality right there. I was a little disconcerted, I'll be honest. That was kind of bizarre, but I love it. But as I was saying, why are we on YouTube? We are on YouTube so that you can go back and watch this episode at your leisure in its entirety. Of course, you won't be able to interact with us live like you can being here right now, but you will be able to see everything. So that's fantastic. And that's one of the reasons we made the switch. So today, as always, we're going to be giving away some goodies, specifically some Cobra Artist Oils. And we have 30 new colors to the Cobra Artist line. So previously there were 70, now there's 100. So one lucky winner is going to get 10 of those new colors that we're going to ship out to you, along with some of the new mediums, which we'll be talking about today during the demonstration. So we have a splendid guest with us today. She is an artist residing in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. After a long career as a graphic designer, she now pursues painting full-time. Primarily painting in oil on plein air since 2013, she participates in high-profile competitions across the country. Her paintings have won numerous awards and honors, and she was featured, the featured artist in 2018 in the February-March issue of PleinAir Magazine, and is included in an article regarding water-soluble oils in the December-January issue of 2021. Her painting style is unique. She uses Cobra water-mixable oil colors and thin washes with a limited tonalist palette, using unconventional tools such as squeegees and Q-tips along with her brushes. Her subject matter is often what she refers to as the vanishing landscape, including finding beauty in buildings, barns, and old towns of a time gone by. She's an artist member of the Mid-Atlantic Plein Air Painters, the Salmagundi Club, the Oil Painters of America, Outdoor Painter Society, and several other prestigious groups. She has a BFA from the Virginia Commonwealth University. She teaches classes and leads and hosts workshops at her studio, Short Dog Studio in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, as well as other regional and national locations. She will also be a featured faculty member in the upcoming PleinAir Live 2024. Join me, everyone, in welcoming one of our newest ambassadors, Beth Bathe. Beth, how's it going?
Hi, Jeff. I'm great. Welcome to Short Dog Studio.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for joining us. This is fantastic. Yeah. It's great to see you. I was looking back and we actually talked about this a little bit. I think it was 2021, the last time we did a talk like this together. How time flies. Oh my gosh, did you hear my tongue twister there? Put your name together with latest ambassadors, and I threw an extra TH in there. So you gotta watch that. Say that 3 times really fast. Ambassador Beth Bathe. So you are in your studio.
Yes.
Fantastic. So I'm excited about this because not only are we going to talk a little bit, I've got some questions for you, and you shared some images of some of your recent work. So we're going to go through that together and everybody's going to love that. Then I'm going to turn it over to you though. And I'm excited about that because you're going to do a demonstration for us and you've got some of the new mediums, the new Cobra mediums that you're going to show off. Yay!
I do.
Awesome. So then I will be spotlighting your screen and right now folks can see us both, so that'll be great for the interview. So why don't we go ahead and jump into it since you're standing there and I got your attention, right?
Yes, sir.
So we are mentioning Cobra several times here. So my first question is, how did you discover or how were you introduced to Cobra water-mixable oils?
Well, when I started on the plein air competition circuit, I was painting, with traditional oil paints, dragging the Gamsol and turpentine, turpenoid around. And I met up with other Cobra ambassador, Charlie Hunter, and he was using these, water mixable oil colors. And so I thought, wow, how great is that? You don't have to bring any solvents outside. So I started using them and I just fell in love with them. I had been using Rembrandt oils anyway, so it wasn't, much of a transition. And I just find the cleanup and just the use as water as a medium is just the way I want to paint. So I just love them.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. They really are very similar in their consistency and workability as the Rembrandt. I get that feedback, and that's been my experience as well.
Oh yeah, I really didn't have much of a changeover, switchover in the consistency, the butteriness, the pigment load, everything. I just find them very, very similar to the Rembrandts.
Great, great. No, yeah, me too, me too. Both wonderful paints. So lots of folks have a lot of different reasons for looking at water mixable oils. What was the primary benefit for you in wanting to go solvent free?
It's really two reasons. One is the way I paint, which I start out so washy with so much solvent that doing that with Gamsol or Terpenoid, it was just too much chemicals. And so I find that using the water sort of takes that whole chemical load out. But it also, really gives me that look I want. My paintings look so much like a watercolor. So it's very, they allow me to create the transparency in the washes that I just love to do. And the water just really, really works great.
It really is unique, isn't it? I get asked this all the time, right? So you replace your traditional solvent with water in the process when using water mixable oils, but it's not exactly the same. Water behaves a little bit differently. The interaction with the paint on the surface is different, where the Gamsol you mentioned or turpentine, whatever you're using, actually dissolves the binder, the linseed oil. The water bonds with it through an emulsion process, and it's a very different reaction. Some people love it. Some people are a little frustrated with it in the beginning. But it is a different experience that you have to adjust to, I think, if you've been painting with traditional oils for a long time. But the results can be really unique and wonderful, as you're describing, for sure.
Oh yeah, and actually I found when I tried to use the Gamsols or Terpenoid, if the washes, like you said, it reacted kind of a little differently. Like as they would drip, the water would create just a nice fluidity where the Gamsol would leave kind of like a little aura around the paint. So it really is, you just have to, with any paint or with any style, you need to, it's sort of a trial and error kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. There are definitely some adjustments, but the rewards are really wonderful. Um,
Yes.
Sticking with the materials, I talked about in your introduction, and this is on your website as well. I'll make sure to post that in the comments as we're going on here. But what is your basic palette? What colors do you have, and do you have like a must-have? Is there one that's always got to be there?
Yes, so I'm pretty much a tonalist painter. A tonalist meaning very limited, kind of a monochromatic palette. My number one color, and I can paint the whole painting in it, is raw umber. And the raw umber is kind of a browny, olivey color, transparent. And it really gives, it works great with the water. It tints beautifully, and it gives the painting a look of like an old sepia tone photo. So that's the number one color. And then my other color must have are ultramarine blue, transparent red oxide. Really, I could paint with those three. I add in yellow ochre as my yellow, and lately I've been painting with Payne's gray. So those, 4 or 5 colors are really my must-haves. And most all of them are transparent. I think yellow ochre is semi-transparent. So they start out, right out of the tube being transparent, which is what I love.
Yeah, yeah, they are. The ultramarine blue is so beautiful. Actually, all of the lines that Royal Talents manufactures, whether it's the Rembrandt, the Cobra, even in the watercolors, the ultramarine blue that is produced is such a beautiful, beautiful color. I mean, it's just, I hear this all the time. Folks, even who don't use a lot of Rural Towns products, but they have that one color, along with transparent red oxide, is another popular one in their palette. Really
Oh,
wonderful.
and you mix any combinations of those four mixed together is extraordinary. If I just use ultramarine blue and raw umber, like, add blue for a sky or something, I talk it when they knit together, when you sort of mix them together, they're glorious, just absolutely beautiful.
Well, we'll get to see some of that in your paintings. I can't wait to share that. Just a couple more questions first, because you're holding what is a unique tool for applying paint. So tell us how it evolved. How did you end up using squeegees and using these other materials to apply the paint to the surface?
Well, like you said in my intro, I have a long background as a graphic designer, so I've done a lot of, illustrative work and illustration. And I used to use squeegees and stuff back in the day, and so my absolute favorite form of art on top of painting is fine charcoal drawing, where you draw and you wipe away with the kneaded eraser. So I was always like, I love the reductive aspect of drawing. And I just started to find that the squeegee did the same thing with the paint. So it would, I put on a lot of washes and paint, and then I carve the drawing away. So my style is really what I call reductive. So, as much paint as I put on, I take away with squeegees.
I love that part of painting. I do a lot of that too. I build up more surface, but I like that process of adding and taking away and scraping off and putting back on. There's something about that process that kind of echoes nature itself, right?
Yeah, I love it. And what I found is when I used to paint more like full chroma, I loved the underpainting part. I loved the beginning. I loved, the wipe away and the freshness of it. And it just got to be that's what became what my paintings are. They really are, it could be an underpainting for some people.
Yeah, yeah. Now they're beautiful. And speaking of that, let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen, everybody, and you're going to see some images come up, and then I'm going to make it full screen. So Beth, hopefully you'll be able to see this. Okay. Got an eye on that?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So this was in our promo piece, so I thought it only fitting that we'd start with this. So tell us a little bit about this painting. I can see already the ultramarine and some of the umber.
Oh yeah, so basically this is the exact same palette I was telling you about. It's basically starting with a wash of the raw umber, little Payne's gray, the ultramarine blue, and then the whole boat. This is the Merry Day, which is a gorgeous big windjammer up in Camden Falls, Maine. But everywhere that you see is white, I have carved away with the squeegees. That includes the rigging, the boat, everything. So I start with a white panel that I've gessoed in a certain way so that when I wipe away the paint, the gesso marks will show and it really becomes very painterly. So I don't have white at all on my palette. So the white is the gesso underneath.
That is so cool. And I love the precision that you get with some of the marks using the squeegee too, especially in that rigging.
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. And I'll have people like come up and look and they have no idea, like, how does she get those lines so straight?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's the squeegee taking the paint off.
Yeah. It's all about tools, all about tools.
It is.
And here we have another example of some of those great edges that you're getting with that.
Again, it's fantastic for architecture. You lay these, washes down, but then I could go in and make these unbelievable, man-made marks, with the architecture. It's a great drawing tool. So you could just carve away the whole white area. It's great for see the mullions in the windows and
yeah.
everything. And this one, I swear, I think is just raw umber and
really minimal palette.
Yeah.
I love that you can see the gesso texture underneath. Are you priming these boards yourself? What kind of surface do you work on?
Yes. So I use hardboard panels that I tell you, sometimes it takes me longer to prep the boards than to do the painting. So they are gessoed sometimes 3, 4, 5 times. If it's a hardboard panel that has, that they're totally brown, it takes quite a while. And the last 2 or 3 coats of gesso that I put on, I use the exact same paint brushes that I paint with,
Oh, cool.
in about an inch and a half wide, because I want them to look like the painting marks of my painting, especially since so much of the painting could be the gesso, the white area. And
Yeah.
that's taken a long time, because I used to paint primarily on ampersand gesso boards. They're real slick, but I
Mhm.
wasn't getting any texture.
Right.
So even if I use an ampersand gesso board, I will gesso on top of them with 2 or 3 coats of gesso.
Yeah, yeah, the irregularities that you're getting by priming it yourself are really contributing to the fun texture. The results that you get when you squeegee over it is fun.
Yeah.
Here's a little more organic looking image.
Yeah. Yeah. This one was great. This was plein air. It was a real misty morning, and normally if you're driven by and the mist wasn't there, you probably wouldn't even see this old tree, but it just really stood there beside the road. And I just thought it was so abstract.
Yeah,
Again, there's the palette, it's just 3 or 4 colors.
that is great. And I love how the trunks of these trees in the background, you're just removing some paint for that.
Oh yeah, the 2 white trunks,
Yeah.
that's an old watercolor technique. So
Mm-hmm.
basically what I did is I just took a paper towel with water and squeezed some drips, and it dripped down, and I
Oh,
sort of
fun.
patted paint and it came away.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
That is one note to beware with Cobra and plein air painting, that if it rains, your surface will be susceptible to the moisture. So something to keep
Oh,
in mind.
don't we know it?
Of course, you could
Yeah,
use that. You can use it, right?
well, you can use it, but you also have to run for cover too.
Run, run, run. Oh man. A wonderful figure here.
But see that it's totally with figurative. She's totally carved out with squeegees too. So, I don't just have the big squeegee. I actually make little squeegees.
Yeah.
So I take the rubber blades that you could get replacement blades with this Ettore squeegee, and I cut them down, and I will put them in little binder clips. And
Oh,
so I
fun.
have like different sizes, so I could carve away. But again, here she is, it's totally monochromatic. I added the red shoes.
What's the scale on this? Do you remember?
That is an 18 by 24.
Yeah, so it's a good size. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good size. I painted it actually during the pandemic, when all of us were, shut-ins, and you think
Yeah.
about all the dancers and whatever that aren't performing.
Oh.
And and she's like my favorite model. She's like my muse. I love her.
I love how using your limited palette, when you do put a bold color on it, it really jumps. And I love the play between the shoes and the lipstick there. That's fun.
Yeah, thanks.
There's another figure.
Yeah, so here we are. We're right. I'm standing right in front of this backdrop here. This is my studio.
Yeah.
And so when I'm not out plein air painting, I hire models, and we have artists come in, and we have a 5-hour long pose, which is really fun, and paint the model.
That's wonderful. It's great seeing the model and then your image next to it. Painting from life is such a wonderful experience. And this is fun. So was this on location, or is this from a reference photo?
That is actually, that is on location, but I did have to shoot a photo.
Mm-hmm. There are some elements to it, like the way the light is reflecting, that is why I thought maybe there was a photo reference. And it's marvelous, especially the light outline around the bird. Really, really nice. And then this one was, when you sent this, I was like, yeah, this one's got to be in there. This is awesome. Are you still there? Did I lose you? Well, folks, I think we lost Beth for a second, but hopefully we'll get her back. I'm going to go ahead. I think we've got one more wonderful picture of her at work in one of her workshops. We see everybody around her busy and her demoing in the center. So this is a fun image. And we'll put a link to her website so you can see what she's up to as far as workshops going. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. So
Here we are. I'm sorry, we lost
there
you.
we go. That's okay.
Technical difficulties.
I was ad-libbing there.
Thank you.
We were looking at your ice cream, your banana split.
Oh, my ice cream, yeah.
My mouth started to water a little bit.
I know. Oh my gosh, yeah, that was such a, and that was a a shot I set up as a still life, and yeah, so I like to paint just a little bit about everything. Do you want me to get back into the
Well, you know what? I want you to have as much time to do the demonstration as possible. So why don't we go ahead and I will turn it over to you now. And then when we get back to the Q&A, if somebody wants me to bring up some of those images again, we will, because I only spent a little bit of time on those last few. And I want to be able to answer folks' questions. But I think this is what everybody paid, signed up to see. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. I'm going to spotlight. I think I can spotlight you.
Okay, well, what I'm going to do first is, here is safflower oil, brand new Cobra medium, yay! And this is my, prepared board, and I will do a little coat of safflower oil on my board. And you're probably wondering, why are you doing this, Beth? And I do this for two reasons. One is, this acts as a little bit of a medium without me having to add, I don't use any other medium other than water throughout the painting. And it also creates a little bit of barrier between my painting and the substrate. So as you'll see, as I carve away, I always want to get back to the white of the board. So this way, no matter what, color paint I'm using, there's a barrier between the board and the paint. Does that make sense? Okay, and then in a little container of water, I am going to add some of the new stuff, solvent-free thinner. So basically what this, and I'm going to add just a little bit in the water here. And Jeff, maybe you want to tell people about it, why it's white?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead, though, and I'm not stealing the camera here. I'm going to hide my image so they can just hear me and be able to see you. I might take it off speaker view for a second here. There we go. There we go. So you can see both. So yeah, the thinner is one of the new products. We have several new mediums that are available to Cobra Artists. There's a linseed oil and a safflower oil, so you can make your own mediums or make your own paint if you want. It's water mixable. We also have something called medium mix, which you can add to any traditional oil to make them water mixable. So that's going to be really popular. But the thinner really answers the specific challenge that I mentioned earlier. Mixing water with the paint is different than mixing an actual solvent like Gamsol, white spirits, or turpentine. The thinner that we're introducing, that you're using right now, behaves more like one of those traditional materials when you mix it with the paint and begin with that lean layer like Beth is showing right now. So it gives you the advantage of no color shift like you get when you mix with water in the very beginning. There's a slight color shift that happens, but it goes away, but you've got to be used to it. Doesn't happen here. It just, for all intents and purposes, mimics more closely what you would experience mixing a solvent with the paint. And it's made to be added in any amount, any volume, any ratio with the paint. So you can create some really lean layers with this, where we only recommend diluting paint with water 1-to-1. So this really allows you to get in and create some wonderful transparencies like Beth does. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to you.
Yeah, and like I said, this is only like painting number 2 that I've used, because this is new stuff, man. So, but I painted a painting I guess about a week ago or something, but it did great. It dried super, nothing was weird, Okay, what I'm doing here, and you guys can see sort of the gesso marks. I'm using this 1-inch chip brush from like Lowe's or Home Depot. And if you can notice, it's pretty, cruddy at the top. And I love it for my first block in, because it doesn't, give traditional like paintbrush marks. Okay, so what I'm trying to do right now is I'm going in. I've done the Payne's Gray and the raw umber. I'm going to add a little bit of the transparent red oxide. I'm kind of getting the shapes of these chickens. Just sort of the dark shapes.
So while you're doing that, somebody was asking about the drying time, and it will dry more quickly than water does. Just like white spirits or turpentine would dry more quickly than water does. It's not a quick dry medium. There's no secatives or drying agents in the thinner itself. I did kind of a side-by-side test, the paint by itself, the paint with water, the paint with the thinner, and the paint with the thinner did dry more quickly than the others. If you're looking for something to dry even faster than that, there is a quick dry medium that Cobra makes too that acts a lot like you were adding alkyd medium to it. So it helps it dry about 20 to 40% faster depending on the ratio.
Right now I'm just using a paper towel. And so basically, I'm sort of just blocked in. You can almost see, you've got a chicken here. There's going to be a chicken in here. And I'm just sort of,
I love how loose it is. There's a question I think that'd be good to ask while you're doing this. It says, when you're putting one color down and then another on top, do you expect them to mix or lay on top of each other?
They mix. They really mix. At this point, everything's so washy that they kind of mix and drip in together. I mean, later, as I go in and add some, brushes, paint will sit on top of each other. But okay, so now here's the little squeegee I was talking about. So basically, it's just the rubber blades that I cut down, and this is just a bully clip from Staples. And I've got my fingers in grayish blue paint. Okay. And so what I'm going to start to do is carve. See how I push this? And it's so interesting if you push the paint, see how it comes like with a nice dark line? If you pull it, the line would go to the side. And so I'm going to start to try to figure out where this white chicken kind of goes in here.
I love that. It's so cool to watch it.
And, it's not just the squeegee, but the paper towel works great too. But you're right, Jeff. I do find that, that little bit of medium, it does start to set up a little bit more than just the water.
It's such a fun process.
It is fun. And then I use, because I use watercolor brushes. And I use watercolor, well, they're just synthetic brushes. And that way I'm just not like ruining, super expensive, mongoose hair brushes. And again, what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of getting the shape of these chickens without worrying too much about anything yet. Because the thing that's so great about these water mixables or oil paints in general, they're just so forgiving. You can move stuff around and, God bless the watercolorists, the minute they put a mark down, it's down. But see how I just touch. It already looks like chickens.
There's a question here for you. Do you go for the full value range in the first chip brush application of the paint?
That's an interesting question. I try to get kind of maybe the medium values in. I will go back in and I am constantly making things darker, lighter. But I mean, I was just trying to kind of get that first See, I'm going in darker right now. And what I love about this photo is in the composition wise, kind of the rule of thirds, sort of where this chicken's head is really kind of the sweet spot here. And what again, by using these, just a couple of colors, I love this. With the combs, I'll go in with some red, and that'll be kind of my accent color. So you could just push it and see how it's already, in the grooves of the gesso a little, kind of cool.
Yeah.
When I teach, a lot of times the students are so, it's a really, you have to think a little differently, because remember, I am taking away like the negative spaces. So you have to think it's almost like sculpture. So I'm carving away. See, I'm carving the background out. And this green color I used, I love this green, especially, coming into this springtime. It's that yellowish green.
Yeah.
It's that green that no one could ever mix, in nature. That's just, that god awful spring green. But it's great. And again, it mixes so nice, and I love it. It's not quite as transparent as the other colors. Okay, so we have this chicken. This one's going on here. It's always fun doing a demo when you're standing way over to the side. You're trying to say, what does my painting look like?
I'm going to post a link to the yellowish green here.
Yeah, I love yellowish green. Yeah, the two opaque colors I kind of use that I love is yellowish green and grayish blue. And the grayish blue is really, I don't know exactly what the mix-up is, but it's basically white with blue in it, right, Jeff? The grayish blue.
Yeah, it's a pre-mixed color. It's got some white in it. It's got some ultramarine actually, and it's got a little black in it too.
Yeah, but it's really great, especially doing this really transparent kind of thing. You could go back in, and if you're trying to do, say atmosphere or something, it's great for like mist and fog.
Well, somebody is mentioning something I was thinking too, is this is very similar to drawing with charcoal, removing.
Exactly, that's what I said in the beginning. Remember, drawing with like charcoal.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a wonderful way for new painters. Let's say you'd like to try oil painting, and just the whole idea of all the mixing the colors and everything is so daunting. This is because I use such a limited palette, and it's really more drawing. It's a great way to give them a shot. Give them a try without worrying if am I mixing a warm gray or does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah. Getting lots of love. People
yeah. I love you back. Yeah, I'm so excited. I taught my first workshop last week, and I announced to everybody I was a ambassador, and everybody was so excited.
We are super excited to have you on officially, right? You've been kind of an unofficial ambassador for a while, so it's great to be official.
Yeah. You made me an honest woman, Jeff.
Don't tell anybody.
I know. Fingers work. See, that's looking kind of chickeny.
Yeah. I love the edges that you get when you're pushing the paint around too. The paint kind of gathers up and creates a wonderful line.
Isn't it? And see here the drippage that's going on and everything. And a lot of that will stay. I mean, that will
I love those kind of techniques in painting, something that speaks to the paint, the material itself.
yeah, I just it's interesting, especially like I'm not painting any buildings or anything today, but a lot of times my sort of Zen thing is when I first let the paint kind of drip and do its thing, it's almost like I'm letting the paint do some of the painting by itself. You know, a lot of times the drips will become branches, or they'll become trunks of trees, or I just love that. And then I go in with these, you know, tools like squeegees and brushes and stuff. And so it's almost like the painting is doing some of the painting and I'm doing some of the painting. That's my Zen thing.
I love that you have your reference photo there, because when you were first applying the paint, it seems, I mean, you make it look so easy. It seems very carefree, but you really are echoing the values in your image as you apply that first color too.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you know, just like anybody painting, I mean, really what I'm doing is I am, you know, I'm deciding what is that shape and how far away is it from the chicken, and how does it, you know, so I'm really trying to think of it all at the same time. You know, us as painters, we're painting, you know, a depiction of a three-dimensional world, you know, on 2 dimensions. And sometimes I find the only way to do it is you have to paint it all at the same time. You know, because I can't get this shape correct if that shape's not correct. Don't see how the squeegees just make, oh gosh, it's just,
Yeah.
And that just pulls, look how beautifully that blue tints.
Yeah.
Okay, now this chicken comes down.
One of the fun things about painting wet into wet, right?
Did we lose him?
No.
No, we still got you.
Okay. Yeah, that is one thing, is I'm pretty much an alla prima painter. You know, this style, to be able to go back and really like carve out, you know, it does have just a window of kind of opportunity. That being said, I mean, if I wanted to go back, say tomorrow, you know, I could still paint on it some. I can't maybe scratch totally away to the white. But that creates some really cool. Now look, I just went into the yellow ochre, and see how that isn't as transparent, and so it lays on so beautifully on top. Isn't that pretty?
Very pretty.
Isn't it amazing how we could get just excited about our own paintings? It's just, I know.
Well, I mean, if it wasn't exciting, yeah, if there was no discovery,
I know, we love it. And
Yeah.
I swear, I think I discover every time I paint. So see, I could go right on top. And
somebody's asking if you can hold your brush closer so they can see what brush you're using again.
this brush, it's Black Silver by Dynasty. They're brights, so it's a very chiseled. It's great for making like straight lines, and I use all different sizes.
I like brights for that same reason. They really are good for literally carving paint,
Yeah.
making some real bold marks.
Look at that, how I just brought the highlight of that
Yeah.
brush, that brushed out. Now I'm just going in the paper towel. Now, sometimes I just paint with a paper towel. I go through more paper towel than I do paint. Yeah. And actually, this style of painting, I don't use a lot of paint, which is kind of
I would
nice.
imagine your paint goes a lot farther, although you're going through, well, when you're working with water, that's a pretty inexpensive resource too. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, really, the for someone who's just starting out, when you think about it, what I, 4 tubes of paint, 2 or 3 brushes, a lot of paper towels, and a squeegee or two, and you're good.
Now, I can't remember, I think you did, but maybe you could mention this again. You were thinning the thinner with some water, correct?
Yes, so I've got about half thinner and half to water. It's probably 50-50. I might have a little more water.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is so new that I'm probably gonna, give it a lot of different trial and errors.
I think that's a good ratio to begin with, if you're transitioning into it and used to using a lot of water. If you're not used to using a lot of water, I think it would be fine just to get a little on your brush and mix it into your palette and see how it works there. I'm always preaching moderation, moderation, moderation when you're using mediums for the first time.
Exactly. And I do love some of the other mediums, like we're talking about me as a sort of a alla prima painter. A lot of times what I'll do is, after a painting is all set up, and let's say I've got a really monochromatic painting, I'll use some of the Cobra glazing medium and a color, and you could go and totally like change the whole feeling of the painting, like make it more blue, or you could use this almost as an underpainting. Or if this starts to set up, you could use some of the mediums and paint, right on top.
Yeah.
Those are sort of starting to look like chickens.
Yeah, the glazing medium, I think, is the most challenging for a lot of folks. It is very fat. It makes your paint fatter. It's designed specifically for that type of layering. Like Beth was saying, creating a glaze of color over the top of something else that's had a chance to set up. Kind of reminds
But
me that.
you are right, Jeff. I mean, this is getting, it's getting tackier, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I think for folks who are starting, who want to use the thinner to get their underpainting in, but want it to, set up soon so they can start building the rest of their painting over it, it's going to be a wonderful product.
Yeah. Okay, let's get these. What's our time, Jeff?
Oh, you've got plenty of time. We've got more than 15 minutes left.
Okay. 15 minutes for a masterpiece. Woohoo! Let's go. I know. Okay, so I'm in this is Cad Red. I think this is Cad Red medium.
I love this stage of a painting. It's really wonderful to see as the images start to emerge from the background.
Yeah. And like I said, this is just I love it because my paintings end up looking, a little abstract, a little, quick and fresh. And like you said, almost like a drawing. But I do love, and you guys have noticed, I have used one brush, one. I'm just dipping the color. I just dip it because they mix so well together. One thing I do need to tell people who haven't used the water mixables, don't dip it in the water. Dip deep, because what happens is you'll go and you'll lift the paint up. So if I want to use the same brush over and over again, what I'm doing is I'm just wiping it off with a paper towel and then just going in straight paint on my palette. I think that's where the water mixables, and I think if you paint with Gamsol or anything, where the learning curve of
I think that's
what's gonna help,
just in general.
what's gonna keep the paint on the panel.
It helps keep your paint clean too. I think sometimes when paintings get muddy, it's because folks aren't cleaning their brush.
Yes. And I do use other brushes too. Actually, I am going to get a clean brush. And again, this is another, same brush. And I'm going to see how I started with big shapes and big shapes. And now I'm going to go in and sort of really define this chicken head here. And again, with the squeegee, I'm going to go in and see if I'm going to carve out the lights. And it's so great because, like, if your drawing isn't quite right, you could push and pull. Like, I could push it out, push it in. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll overpaint a shape and then like pull it in or push it out. Again, this is where, God bless you watercolorists out there, you do your drawing underneath and you're, I don't want, isn't that great? See how the little white line will sort of go beyond, because it's a real nice movement in the painting. And then I have the beak. But this is where you could really go in and super do detail. I've got the tiny little rigger brush. Again, I'm just going to go in with a little bit of the medium. I'm going to go into Payne's Gray and kind of define this eye area here. And that's a little bit of red.
We got a question about what you think of canvas boards as a surface.
Canvas boards, I don't really like them, because then I'll tell you why. Is I sometimes will paint on real canvas, especially huge paintings. But you know how sometimes canvas will have that sort of either cottoned up like little texture, and I find that the squeegee can't get to the substrate. It's not a clean mark. Like you'll have like little, it just doesn't carve in quite as well. But that's me. I mean, other people, could use them. I really like, I love the hard board. It's. Okay, I'm gonna, I didn't put any orange out on my palette, so I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow ochre with the red to try to make this coxcomb stand out a little bit. No, it doesn't quite work. Hang on, I'm just, that's some lemon yellow right here. And even though I say I'm a toneless painter, doesn't mean I don't have every Cobra color. But you never know with that color. When do you need that one color? Yeah, see? And when you just need it.
I love it.
All right. So we're going to carve out. Oh, and another thing too is every time I make a mark, if you notice, I go out of the screen because I'm taking the squeegee over to my big apron I'm wearing and rubbing the squeegee on the apron. Because then when I go back to the painting, I want the squeegee to be clean.
Yeah.
Because let me show you something. I could go to my palette and run this squeegee. I've just ran through the Payne's Gray. And let's say there's, see how I could paint lines?
Oh, nice.
Let's say there's a, like a chicken coopy fence or something back here. Isn't that cool?
That is super cool.
Yeah. See?
Nice, nice. It's a
And I just,
little at the edge of where we can see the painting surface, but I get it.
you get it?
Yeah.
And I love, you could go back and like, I love the coxcomb here where, you know, you could go back and you could highlight where it's kind of lit on the side. And I do paint a lot of chickens on plein air. And, you know, a lot of times people will say, well, how do you, you know, chickens are moving. What do you, how do you know? Well, I think anybody who paints plein air, you have to paint a lot of chickens. You have to practice. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
it's like anybody who's painting waves or clouds or any of that stuff. I mean, you got to go out there and practice.
Nobody was making any comments there for a second. I was worried we lost folks. Then all of a sudden somebody came out and said, yes, very mesmerizing. You have mesmerized everybody. They're all hypnotized, myself included.
I know it's fun, isn't it fun? You guys,
It
you
was
guys, you
fun.
could do this. It's really, you know, it's pretty cool. Especially like you say, like if you love to paint with or draw with charcoal, this is like it, man. See how you go in and just a couple little highlights here and there, and you've like he has this wonderful like light on the
No, that's nice.
feathers. Okay, I'm gonna ground these guys to the bottom by doing a little bit of a shadow here.
Well, you're
Again,
inspiring. You're
I'm
inspiring.
constant. Excuse me.
You're inspiring folks. They're like, oh, this technique is so wonderful.
Well, you know, it's interesting. And one reason I picked the chickens today is like a lot of times people know me by my boats and by buildings and that kind of stuff. And I just really wanted to show you that, you know, like my you know, ballerina or whatever. It you could do any of it. You know, it's you could use it for really just about anything. But you could go in and I could like see how I could touch, see how I'm making just like the texture of his feathers.
It is nice. Yeah. Yeah, and it's being echoed in the comments too, that there's a nice one here about all the mixture of shapes that you're getting with just a few tools.
Right. And look how, see all of this from the back. You know, I'm not going to change too much in the background there. I really like it. But if someone was like, you know, gosh, Beth, I really want to see the leaves and the everything, you know, you can take this as far as you want. You know, as detailed as you want. I love where my backgrounds are these kind of, you know, abstract, shapy things.
Well, it's not unlike the photograph reference you're using, right?
Oh, yeah, it's a little blurry.
Yeah, the camera kind of blurs all that out and our eye focuses on the foreground. And I think when you use techniques like this, it does the same type of thing. Our eye kind of works towards what it can define.
Oh, that's nice. Just the little like shadowy thing.
Yeah.
it's so interesting when you do a demo. It's almost like what is that thing where you're like touching the top of your head, rubbing your tummy, the painting,
Yes.
talking, everything at the same time. I don't know about you guys, but you guys sometimes like I will hold my breath when I paint. So it's like Beth, breathe, breathe.
Yeah, you do kind of get lost. I have a
You
tendency
too.
to get paint like on the back of my head or on my elbow, and my wife's
Oh,
always like, "How did you get paint back there?"
oh, I know. I have, I say I have clothes that have paint on them and clothes that will have paint on them. There's now this, I'd like for this to be, and a lot of times what I like to do is like if I go back at the top, I like to will take my paintbrush in the direction of like the feathers are going or something.
So here's some practical questions for you, Beth. How do you
Yes.
protect your plein air paintings when they're done? Do you use a wet paint carrier? Or...
Yes. I've got a couple different things. I've got the Raymar, um, packs that, different sizes, the 16 by 20 and a, 12 by 16. So I've got those. And then I've got these things called panel packs. It almost looks like a really thin frame, wood frame that you could put one painting in face wise and another, and then it had these big rubber bands. And sometimes what I'll do, like if I'm in a plein air competition, I just pop them right in their frames to protect them.
Yeah.
That's one thing in the plein air competitions, the paintings, they go up on the wall wet, they get sold wet and bye-bye, so they don't get, varnished usually. So how's that looking, guys?
Wonderful. I'm kind of going back and forth watching you and reading everybody's comments. It's fun.
Yeah, and I'll be at the plein air convention and hopefully get to demo.
For sure.
Anybody's going to be there.
So that we should differentiate that for folks. So you're going to be a faculty member on PleinAir Live, which is coming up soon, and that's an all virtual event, correct?
Yeah, actually that already happened. That was like a
Okay.
week ago. And I will be at the convention, not as faculty this year, but I'll hang out with you Cobra people. And and then I will be on the faculty in 2025 for the real, or not the real, the live convention. I don't know where that's going to be yet.
Yeah, so for next one. So for this upcoming one is in May, and it's in
Yes.
Cherokee, North Carolina, just outside of Asheville. Matter of fact, let
Right.
me while you're finishing up there, I'm gonna look that up and post the link there for folks who aren't familiar with it. But we will be there. I will be there. Some other folks from Rural Talents as well, Kyle Richardson. And we will have a booth and we'll have all the Cobra goodies, as well
And
as Beth goodies.
and I'll be there at some point.
And Beth will be there, and
Yeah.
tons and tons of talented artists. It's just a great event, lots of great energy. If you've never attended, it's definitely worth looking at. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's kind of a done deal here.
Awesome.
I could, finish with his face a little bit, I guess.
Oh, some folks were there at PleinAir Live with you. I'm getting some comments. We were there.
Yay!
And it looks like some folks have been to some of your workshops. So we've got some folks who have followed you before. That's exciting. Oh, and I got some other people saying they're going to be there in North Carolina, so I'm looking forward to seeing everybody for sure. Oh, it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, I'll be here before you know it. My goodness.
So I have a favorite. I don't know if you can, what kind of palette you're working on, but can you hold up your palette and show folks?
Sure, sure. Hang on just a sec. Okay. Hey, Kim. I think my helpers had to go. I'm here by myself. Okay, here, let me just take the phone.
Oh, there we go.
See my palette?
Yeah.
So this is my PleinAir setup. So this is the Prolific Painter by Joshua Bean, and it folds up. And I have a palette over here. I call this my messy palette. So I will make like the slurries over here so I don't mess up some of the colors. But that is that. Are we back in the frame here?
We're back in the frame, yeah. Yeah.
Okie dokie. Anything else?
Fantastic. Well, let's see if we missed any questions. Let me go back. And like I said, just lots of love and hellos. Hello back. Somebody put squeegee time. I love it.
Squeegee time.
We got folks from all over. Some folks from Texas here. It looks like some folks close by you in PA.
Yeah, I've got a lot of PA people. Hello, PA people.
Somebody from Georgia. Carrie there. Hello. Good to see you again. Lots of familiar faces. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here again. Oh, I promised to show that ice cream again, so I've got to show the ice cream again.
Okay.
So hold on, I'm going to share my screen. And there we go, folks. There's the ice cream image again. Isn't that fantastic?
See, I mean, it's not much different than the chicken. You know, it's just I'm drawing the shapes by carving them out. And it's a lot of back and forth. So I'll carve out, I'll put back. I carve out, I'll put back. And that's what's the great thing, you know, about us as artists. I mean, I'm not even really kind of paying attention much to the reference anymore. It's kind of like what's the best for the painting now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, at some point you do have to kind of leave the reference on. I mean, because the painting is its own thing.
Yeah, look how that just the movement of that comb by just
So I think before we go, we should, any updates or announcements? You mentioned that you're going to be in North Carolina at PACE. Was there anything else coming up, exhibitions, workshops that you wanted to announce?
let's see, I've got in about a week and a half, I'm headed south. I have a workshop in Abington, Virginia with Kyle Buckland, his studio, and then I'm going to Kingsport Art Guild in Kingsport, Tennessee for a 3-day workshop, a live workshop, which is kind of rare for me for a 3-day. And when I do a workshop, it's really cool, Jeff. I bring everything for everybody. So I bring my panels, I bring the squeegees, I bring the paint, and I squeeze the paint for everybody to give it a try. So it's
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then what happens? Then I start PleinAir, man. Then it's I think I'm in 6, 7, or 8 competitions this year. Easton,
Wow.
Door, County, Wisconsin.
So pretty up there.
Yeah, a lot. Busy.
It's
Yeah.
one great thing about plein air events. They're always in some wonderful location.
Oh, there they are, and there's just something so special about them. You really could become a regionalist in that area for like a week, because you really get to know that area. It's just something really special.
So I have my winner before we go too. for the new colors of Cobra, and I'm going to throw in some of the mediums too. And my little random selector picked a name I didn't recognize from before, and that's Jim Starr. Jim Starr, you are today's winner.
Jim
Thanks for
Starr
joining.
just took a workshop with me.
Did he? Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Perfect.
Oh my
He
gosh.
got
And
the big payoff here.
he is so excited about the Cobras. Oh, he's going to be one excited guy.
So, Jim, all you have to do is direct message me at Royal Talons North America on Facebook. Direct message me and I will connect with you and we will get you those goodies to play with. So thank you, Jim, and thank you everybody for being here today, and especially thank you, Beth. This has been fantastic to watch your work.
It's been awesome.
Isn't it? This is great.
Yeah, it's been
Great.
great. I've had a blast.
Lots of wonderful comments. They're still coming in, so you'll have to check that out.
I will.
And as always, it's a pleasure to have everybody here. Look for us again next month for our next episode. We have one more brand new ambassador, Christine Lashley, who's going to be joining us, and we're going to talk a little bit about Cobra again. So you're going to get a whole lot of Cobra painting comments in here for spring, just in time for plein air painting.
Perfect. She does it totally different than me. So watch.
Yeah. It's so well, that I think it'd be really fun for folks because there are so many techniques associated with this paint as there are with traditional oils. There isn't just one way to explore that,
Oh
but
no.
you've got a
I mean, they're oil
fascinating,
paints.
yeah,
They're oil paints.
they're oil
So,
paints. Yeah, this has been great. Well, thank you so
great.
much. Hang with me for just a second, Beth, and
Okay.
we'll see everybody else next time on the Creator Studio Live.